We're here with the Eric Thompson, the owner of Satoli Carpet, magician, comedian extraordinaire. And we're going to just talk missions for a few minutes.
Great.
And Eric, you've been a follower of Christ for a few years now, recommitted a few years back.
Absolutely.
And I've got to know you a little bit, and it's been really cool to just watch the progression of your story and kind of what's happened in your life and your personal journey. And why don't you tell Believers Church what happened last summer? There was kind of a significant event that happened that all centered around this trip that you took.
It actually started a little bit before this summer. There was this talk that I'd heard about a group of folks from the church were sponsoring a trip, a mission trip to Guatemala. I was a little bit interested in, I've loved to travel. I've been lots and lots of places and thought, well, maybe this mission thing might sound cool. That's pretty cool. So I had a chance to talk with Bruce Buckler for a little while, and he told me about the trip, and he knew that I was a professional magician and performer, and we started talking about how maybe I could go to these villages, these remote mountain locations where people had never seen live entertainment like this, and I could be the guy that attracted families to schools or churches or to the village center, get a big crowd together, and then the rest of the group could go in and do the drama skit thing that they do with telling the story of Christ, introducing people to hymns and Bible verses, and hand out Bibles and do a sermon and tell the story, and it worked out really well, and I was very excited to have the opportunity to perform. I thought, this is really cool that I've been performing around the United States for years and years. This is great. I will be able to take something to these people that they don't have, and good for me, I'm giving them this awesome gift. And I really thought it was something that I was giving to the people of Guatemala. It didn't really turn out that way. I was in country for maybe 18 hours, had done 1 or 2 shows, and I realized that I was getting so much more satisfaction and so much more reward from my contribution to their lives than they were getting. A lot. I was getting way more.
Wow.
It was way more rewarding for me.
That's incredible. So you're a successful guy. You have your own business.
Everybody has their own definition of success, but okay.
You're doing all right by the standards of what globally is happening around the world. What do you think happened inside of you? Because I think for all of us, there's kind of this lull or this daze that we can get into with kind of our comfortable American life and what goes on even spiritually for us here. What would you say to the person that maybe has never been on a mission trip, and what would that do for them? What happened inside of you? You mentioned in our conversation that you went down one way and came back another. Yeah. Can you say?
You know what? It was sitting at dinner one night with Pastor Joe, and we were talking about, I'd been back for, I don't know, 2 weeks back in the U.S., and he said, well, what changed? What was if there was like one cool thing that happened? And I said there were actually hundreds of cool things that happened, but the most succinct way I could put it was, I left here to go to Guatemala as a Christian. And I was a decent guy. I was just a Christian. I came back a devout follower of Christ. I expected to find ways for me to help those Guatemalan people, and I did. But what I really unearthed was something inside of me that was bigger than all of us. And it was just a way to be so connected to Christ and the work that I was allowed to do. It was just awesome.
That's amazing.
It was
went down a Christian, came back a devout follower of Christ.
And turns out there's a difference.
There's a difference. Yeah. That's incredible. You know, Romans 10:15 talks about how can we preach if we're not first sent, and how beautiful are the feet of those who bring the good news. Can you just finish out by just speaking to that? What do you think that means? What are the implications for us as the people that are the church here, maybe in America, and what can we do to do our part?
There's a couple schools of thought on that. There are 2 types of people that the Bible calls for. The Bible calls for senders and goers. And not everybody can go. And that's okay. And not everybody has the means to send someone. And that's okay. But if I have 100 people in the room and everybody wants to be a goer and there are no senders, then how do I get the goers to be sent? Make sense?
Absolutely.
So I need some of the people to, hey, here's $100 toward your travel expenses. Or, hey, I need $100 for my travel expenses. So if I can hook those two people up, a goer and a sender, kind of a sponsor and a doer, then that's how you get there. I hear people, there really isn't a whole lot in the Bible where Jesus said, go do mission work, go on now. But he did say, go into all the world, go into all the nations and tell everybody about me. People are waiting. Sometimes people tell me they're waiting for that call. They want that big call from Jesus. They want to hear the voice, because some people talk about, some missionaries will tell you they had the call. I heard the call. I heard God talk to me. God didn't call me and say, hey, Eric, you should go to Guatemala. Bruce called me in the lobby at Believers Church and said, you want to go? This is going to be fun. You want to go? So when people sit around and wait for the call and then they don't hear it, then they don't feel compelled to go. So when they tell me that, I tell them, you know, in the Bible it says you should go help. I think you should plan on going until you get a call from Jesus that tells you to stay at home and mind your own business.
Yeah, that's
because
good.
that's the difference. We're told in the Bible, go help. So go help.
Yeah. So in other words, go is the given.
Go.
Yeah. Eric, I'd imagine there's just countless stories of this trip, this journey that you took to Zacapa. But was there one story that kind of stood out as something that really changed your perspective from that point on?
Absolutely. One night, it was a late afternoon in a mountain village near Zacapa in Guatemala. We with the trucks pulled into town, and there were a dozen little boys, 10, 12, 14 years old, and they were playing a game. And all of the missionaries got out, and we had food, and they took it into the local hut, and they were going to prepare a meal for us. And these boys were playing, and I walked over because I would rather play than cook. So I walked over and I started playing with these boys. I speak no Spanish, they speak no English. They were playing marbles. There were a dozen boys, they had 5 marbles between them. They allowed me to play, they taught me their rules, and we played marbles. And we played marbles for a long time, until one member of our team came to the front door of the hut and said, Eric, dinner is ready and they're eating, and if you don't come and eat right now, there won't be any left. And I looked at her and said, are they serving those beans again? Because we had a lot of beans. And they said, yes, it's beans. And I said, you know what, give my beans to someone else. I'm done with beans. I'm playing right now. I'm having a good time. And when it got dark, because there's no electricity, it was time to go home. One of the little boys took remember there were 12 boys and they had 5 marbles between them. The one little boy took this marble and he put it in my hand and he said something to me in Spanish. I had no idea what he was saying, but it was important. I could tell by his tone and inflection. So I called one of our interpreters over, and her name is Carolina, and I said, Carolina, what is he saying? And she spoke to him, and he said the same thing in Spanish. He said something to her, and she looked at me, and she had tears streaming down her face. Her eyes were welled with tears. And I said, what? What? I thought there was something horrible. And she said, he handed me a marble, and she said, he wants you to take this marble and take it back to the United States and share this and play with your children and tell your children about him and his friends and what they do to have fun in Guatemala and how we were there. He said, people come to Guatemala and they dig a well for us, or they build a school, or they help build a church, or they help with our community, or they teach us about God, and they have these preaching things. He said, but no one comes here just to play with us. You played with us. Take this home. And I thought, how do I take home what amounts to 20% of their toys? But how do I say no to that? So this is the marble that little boy gave me. And when I got home, I bought 11 pounds of marbles and sent them back down there. So now every kid in that village has a fistful of marbles, and I have the marble that is the lesson. And that's what I learned the most while I was there.
Wow. Well, hey, Eric, thank you so much for coming. Before you go, would it be okay if we could see just one quick magic trick?
I get this question all the time. I'm ready. Are you sure that's what you want?
I'm sure, and I think I speak for everyone when I say let's do it.
Perfect. Here we go. Watch close. I'll only do it once. Watch.
Well, Eric Thompson, now you see him, now you don't.